So I'll be the first to admit it. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And when I can be a dismissive jerk on this channel, I can be a dismissive jerk, and I shouldn't be. And I judged this movie a bit too early. When the SAG nominations happened for Best Actress and I saw Pamela Anderson's name on the list, I was very dismissive of it. I was like, she's not actually going to get the Oscar nominations. This is just SAG being a little weird. Like, they're almost like throwing like a good job for trying, Pamela Anderson, like, yay. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a very silly nomination for them. And I'm just like, how good of work is Pamela Anderson actually doing in The Last Showgirl? That's my own bias. That's my own mistake, because I went out to go see The Last Showgirl today, Thursday, January 9th. I saw it in theaters, and I have to fully admit I was wrong. Pamela Anderson is really great in The Last Showgirl. And let's just kind of talk about this movie and everything that this movie does right, and in a lot of cases what this movie does wrong, but it's never ever centered on what Pamela Anderson does wrong in this movie. I really want to just highlight this is going to be an extremely complimentary review of Pamela Anderson's work. And if you're at all interested in liking these videos and my reviews, make sure to subscribe. But back to my review of The Last Showgirl. This is a movie that, let me read the premise. And Pamela Anderson's 57, as is the character in this movie. After a successful 30-year run, a seasoned showgirl must plan her future after the show closes abruptly. Pamela Anderson plays the character of Shelley Gardner. She is this seasoned showgirl, and she's great in this movie. There is no getting around it. There's no ifs. There's no buts. There's no like, there's nothing like holding me back on saying that like Pamela Anderson is really great in this movie in a way that I actually found quite touching, quite emotional, quite real. And I just didn't know she had this capability as an actress within her. And that's, again, not necessarily trying to be dismissive of Pamela Anderson, but, you know, this isn't like something that she's very comfortable with within her filmography or within her career. Like, and the fact that she's able to touch this level of emotion, I was really surprised with. And she had this documentary, I think, that came out last year to Netflix that follows her life. And I'm blanking on the name of the documentary right now, but I really liked her in that documentary. Like, I really understand championing and cheering on Pamela Anderson. Like, she is uber charismatic in it. I ultimately like get why people gravitate, why people like her, and why she's having a little bit of a moment right now. But in The Last Showgirl, like, I didn't know she could actually like make me feel real emotions or like really convey dramatic beats in this movie as this woman who is aging out of essentially showgirl and this Vegas lifestyle. And she has this daughter that she was kind of absent towards growing up. And now she's trying to repair this relationship. And she's now trying to figure out what she wants to do with the rest of her life. Now that this career that she has only known, that she loves, that she is so passionate about, that no one else really understands why she is as passionate about, as it's all coming to a close. And there's an actual emotional depth to this performance that I really appreciated from Pamela Anderson. Like I said, she carries this movie, and she has a few just real heart-wrenching scenes in this movie, and it really captures a humanity and a spirit, and you feel like you know this character, and you understand the arc of who this character is when they were young, when we didn't know them in this film, to where they are now at the age of 57 within this film. You understand this whole character's almost journey to get to the moment they are on. And none of that happens within the 87-minute runtime of this movie. It's just all told through the expressions that Pamela Anderson is able to play off of. Like I said, it is a truly masterful performance, and it's a very delicate performance from her. I think this movie could have actually easily been a disaster, and I think this movie could have actually had a really bad Pamela Anderson performance at the center, but she plays the beats at a perfect level. She never overplays them. She never underplays them. It's a perfect just brewing pot. In some moments she goes bigs, but in some moments she shows real restraint and pain and anger. And this character isn't always easy to understand or digest, but it also helps that she is able to tap into something, because obviously Pamela Anderson has a very specific relationship as a celebrity, and how we know her as a celebrity, knowing her as the beautiful bombshell on Baywatch, knowing her as one of the Playmates, like with Hugh Hefner naked, like all the time. Like we all know that of Pamela Anderson, and to be playing with all of those emotions for the people who don't understand what she does, don't understand the artistry of Pamela Anderson. Like there is actually something that she is able to grapple with in this movie that I found quite touching, along with the rest of the performing cast in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis is a friend to Pamela Anderson's character in this movie. She's also a former showgirl. She's really good, limited scenes, but I was also kind of poo-pooing her for getting the best supporting actress, and I was joking about it. Again, I don't think she should. I don't think she's in the film enough. I will say this is a better performance than the one that she actually won an Oscar for with Everything Everywhere All at Once, that she's much more in this movie, I felt. And there's a lot of just great actors. Dave Bautista plays the producer of the show that Pamela Anderson's character is on. Dave Bautista is quietly one of our best leading men in movies and one of our best character actors. He's fantastic in this movie. And this film just has a really good young cast. Brenda Song from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody is in this movie. She's good. Kiernan Shipka, who was on Mad Men, she's really good in this movie. Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, she's in this movie and she's great. She plays Shelley's daughter in this movie. So she's Pamela Anderson's daughter in this movie. They're all really good and they all really complement one another, especially paired with Pamela Anderson. Like there's a lot to really like about this movie. What I didn't like about this movie, and the reason that I found this movie a bit of a disappointment at times, is the performances are all great for a movie that I just don't think is cleverly directed or cleverly written. I think Gia Coppola, who is obviously a part of the Coppola family, she has some beautiful like imagery in this movie, and like she certainly has capabilities as a director. I found her portrayal of Vegas quite puzzling. And I guess it's just because Vegas in this movie, I felt like didn't feel like Vegas in real life, which is, it just always felt like really empty. And maybe that's an emotional choice, but it really made the film feel distant for me when Vegas is so synonymous with chaos and just people coming in and out of it. And like this movie is just like, you could have thought you were in like somewhere like deep in the South, like this small town. Like there's this isolation feeling to Vegas, but then you're seeing the certain scenes play out in this movie where Pamela Anderson's in like very specific and famous landmarks of Vegas. And you're just like, why is it empty? And like, I felt that distance and disconnect with it. This movie's also like, and maybe this was just an issue with my theater, I don't think it was, but like this movie's also just out of frame at times. Didn't understand that, but I was just like, I didn't understand that. Like there's a movement to the camera that's very frenetic, where it's just almost like a character is up and down with the camera, like bobbing a next to Pamela Anderson. Like none of that stuff worked for me. This film's written just very cliched in a way that I was just like, and it's fine because the actors are able to lift up the cliches, but it wasn't really satisfying, especially as we get into the third act, which I didn't think the finale landed particularly well. Like this is really the case of a director and writer letting down a really talented cast, because I think this cast is actually terrific. And it is just a movie that ends up kind of missing for me in a lot of scenes. Like there are a lot of moments of The Last Showgirl to really like there is some real great, especially between the actors. Like there is a real emotional scene with Pamela Anderson and Billie Lourd where they're kind of exploring their relationship. And it's the first time we as an audience are understanding them, understanding where this tension comes from. There's this wonderful scene with Dave Bautista and Pamela Anderson. As you'll notice, all the best scenes in this movie involve the Pamela Anderson character. And like these two characters are just having a moment of their past, and you understand more about this story. And it's a movie about aging. It's a movie about life kind of coming to a close and not sharing how you feel about it. And like, there's a lot of ideas, I would even say, if not about class, but about working class and what happens when their job just kind of disappears abruptly and they got nothing else to rely on. Like, those ideas are definitely within this movie. They're not well conveyed, and I don't think the finale really gets you that moment. Now, Pamela Anderson is pretty spectacular in the finale of this movie, and it really worked. I didn't get what the director slash writer was trying to say by the time The Last Showgirl ended. And luckily this is the case of, this is an 89-minute movie. So like the fact that the screenplay and the direction doesn't really always work for me in this movie, like isn't that big of a deal, luckily, because I found the performances captivating to the point that it didn't matter necessarily that the rest of the movie fell pretty flat for me. So it does kind of get the benefit of just like, had this movie been like 2 hours, like, yeah, this movie would be pretty bad. But like the movie is able to survive on the strength of its cast, not on the strength of its director, not on the strength of its writer. But ultimately, I can recommend The Last Showgirl. Like, I honestly, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily say Pamela Anderson will get in for the Oscar nomination. I would say right now, there's definitely performances that I would bump in favor of Pamela Anderson. I'd bump Carla Sofia Gascon, who I think gives a good performance, but I'd bump her for Pamela Anderson. I think Jolie's like pretty fantastic in Maria, but I could see bumping her. Like, there are a number of actresses that I could be like, I could make the case that Pamela Anderson should be in there. And that's a pretty successful thing for an actress to do, especially at her age, as someone not having a ton of acting experience. I just think it's a really empathetic character, and Pamela Anderson really delivers with it in a way that I just wasn't expecting. So The Last Showgirl, it is, see it alone for the Pamela Anderson performance and the performance from the rest of the cast. Otherwise, there's not a much to speak on this movie. I'll be generous, and I'm going to give 3 out of 5 stars to The Last Showgirl. Oh, I just want to mention real quick, Miley Cyrus has a song in this movie. I thought it was great. And this is one of the cases where I'm just like, I'm so annoyed that Miley Cyrus has a song that she wrote for a movie that's really good, that for some reason the Oscars short list was like, we don't need to include it in our short list. Like, you're going to have 2 terrible, like, Amelia Perez numbers during this year's ceremony. You're going to have a Diane Warren performance. Like, why not just give us Miley Cyrus? Like, Jesus, what are you guys doing? But yeah, the Miley Cyrus song, it's called Beautiful That Way. Like, it's a really good song. It plays in the film's finale. I really liked what Miley Cyrus did in it. I think she also captured what this movie is about in the spirit. And I think there's a lot that she could relate to, that she related to with this song and with the Pamela Anderson performance. So ultimately, recommendation from me for sure. So check it out. And guys, if you're liking this video and if you liked any of my other reviews, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 3,000 before the end of 2025. You guys have already got me like 200 subscribers within 2025. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I am always humbled. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.